Well, this is a real cat called Minnie, who is named after Professor Minerva McGonagall from the Harry Potter stories. And Gill Ward has asked me if I could do a picture of Minnie as Professor McGonagall. So let's not talk about it. Let's do it. Well, I've been doing some little sketches here, little practices. And so that's what I'm going to do now. So I need to plan this out a little bit. And so we need a kind of a head shape around about there. And we're going to want this kind of wizard outfit. And that's going to be, so these kind of long sleeves, kind of medieval kind of Tudor sleeves like that. I'm going to have a kind of a kind of paw just to make it a bit more exciting. And then we're going to have kind of an arm out like that, and the sleeves are actually kind of swinging out from about there. So I'm going to have that kind of like that because I want a kind of a swingy kind of look. And then we got we need that up there a bit. Then we got kind of a facing to the coat, which is kind of going like that, and then we can have that there. We're going to need a paw holding a wand, and then we've got to make that look reasonably like Professor McGonagall's wand, which is made of fur. So that's to about there, and then I don't know what that bit there is at the front. It's probably a bit long. Anyway, so that's going to come to about there. It has a dragon heartstring core. So now I need to think about the actual cat face. So it's going to be something like that. We're going to want sort of eyes. So Minerva has a kind of a a witch's hat. Obviously it's a witch's hat, but she has a kind of a little sort of turban thing inside it as well. So we're going to have that going off there, and then kind of goes down and up and down. So that will come kind of like that. So there's a bit of sort of wonkiness. Character, shall we call that? And then a kind of a band around there. And Professor McGonagall has this brooch, but I'm going to turn it into a cat's paw brooch. So she has 3 little studs like that, little red studs, and then I'm going to have a bigger one there like that. So let's start inking this in, and I'm going to do the paw kind of like that, and then this will be that kind of it's a kind of a little band around there. Now Minnie is really quite fluffy, so I'm going to get this. I did kind of 2 versions. I did 2 versions. I said to Jill, "Do you want the kind of the happy one or the kind of slightly kind of mysterious one?" She said, "Oh, the slightly mysterious one, because that is the real Minnie. Is a bit like that." And so I'm going to have these eyes like this, kind of looking out at ya. And Minnie has a very cute pink nose, and we want a kind of a smile in there as well. So we're going to have that fluffiness, and then let's get this sort of paw brooch in there. So we're going to want 3 red stones and a bigger one there. And Professor McGonagall, who was played by Maggie Smith in the films, in the movies, we call them films, is a slightly kind of wonky kind of hat, and she has a kind of a thing around there, band around there, so I can kind of be slightly wonky with this, like that. And I noticed sometimes she has kind of feathers, and I think Minnie would definitely want to have feathers to show to show what she has caught. a litany of avian death. Right, and then, so I'm going to bring that kind of down like that. And I think I need here to have the paw like that, and little paddy paw bits, and then I can bring this kind of, it's the facing of the overcoat, and then that can come down there, and then that's going to be sort of coming down around like that, and then there'll be a kind of a fold in there, and then we're going to get the coat like that. Oh, the ink's playing up there. And here we can have the inner sort of dress, which is black generally, sort of, yeah. And we're going to want a little kind of a wrinkle there, and I think we're just going to have a bit of flair to this sleeve as it's kind of moving, which is actually going to want to come out here, maybe like that with the coat. I'm making it up as I go along. So we want to have the paw like that. So kind of goes something like that, and then we have this kind of bit that sticks out like that, and then we want that there, and then I think I'm going to very, very gently kind of draw radiating lines out from the nose like that, like that. And then I'm going to change to a different pen, so I'm going to get this kind of food pen. Foodie, I don't know what it's called, it's Japanese. So it has it's bent. Can you see the nib? It's bent. So you can start with a kind of a thick line and bring it in and make it short, narrower, like that. And then, so this will give a bit of drama to the whole thing. I think I'm going to want this to come out there. So I'm kind of thinking this isn't just for the video, this is also to go in a picture frame as well. So normally, as an illustrator, I'm kind of just thinking of the page, so I don't really normally think about the picture frame. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing here, I suppose. And then if I kind of fill in between, still make that further, and then, so it's kind of slightly changing the angle of the nib as I'm going. Like that. Oh, and it wants to really come out there. So I'm laying the nib flat on the paper, and then flat on the paper, and then making it thinner as I come closer. That should be a bit flatter there. And let's go around one more time, I think. So there we go. So why am I doing this? Well, it's a little sad, really. Us children's authors here in the UK recently got together and created an auction to raise funds for the children's book author Tommy Dombavand, who wrote Scream Street and other things. And he had throat cancer, and unfortunately he's just very recently succumbed to it. And we were kind of raising money to help him and his family through difficult times, and so I went and offered to do this, and as part of what I think is going to become a thing called 100 cats, and I'm doing 100 dogs as well. And it might take me years, I don't know. So for various reasons, I'll do pictures of cats and dogs. If you want your cat or dog to be immortalised as I really originally kind of thought of the cats as being in kind of as fashion kind of things, because I've got a character I'm working on called Penny, and she's kind of a fashion blogger. She likes vintage fashion, so I'm really thinking of cats in sort of famous clothes and historical garments and things like that. And so I've sort of got a page. You can find out more. You can click up here to find out about that. If you want your cat immortalised as a fashion kind of plate. I think I'm going to need a little bit more there. And now I need to make sure this is dry. And then I can erase those pencil lines. You always want to make sure it's dry before you do that. And now to paint. So I'm going to put a little bit of, this is just a bit of Naples yellow, just to kind of warm up the picture a bit. Then I'm going to just kind of fade it out a little bit. So Minnie is really a sort of a white cat with dark markings. Got some funny kind of coming in there. And then I'm going to want some pink in the ears. A very pink nose. And I think a little bit of pink underneath there, probably. Pink paws. And there'll be a little bit of pink in there as well, I should think. And I can maybe add a bit of Naples in there. That's okay. Now I'm going to have some golden yellow eyes. A little bit of a little bit of burnt sienna just dropping in there, like that. And I think just going to have a tiny bit of shade on the teeth there as well, and a little bit of kind of silvery kind of ness there, and then these want to be quite red, so I'm leaving a little bit of white in there as shininess. I'll get a bit of darker red to drop in and kind of make them a bit more 3D. And then I think I need a bit of, it's going to be hard to keep this yellow clean. So I need some yellow in there and some green. And we want some of that in around there and around there, and then the whole top coat is this kind of greeny colour too. So people often ask me, as a children's author myself, what do you think of Harry Potter? What a leading question. I remember the whole thing very well, the whole Harry Potter mania. And our local school down the road, which my children went to eventually, they weren't there at the time, the head teacher was very, very into books, very into reading. And he said to me one day, "You got to read this book." And so it was the first time Harry Potter had come out, the first, the first Harry Potter story. And he said, "You have to read this. It's so different." And he said, "It's just great. It's an adventure." The children love it. And so I didn't read it immediately. And so, in fact, here in the UK, then, the whole Harry Potter phenomena, I suppose, really started with the Smarties Prize. Smarties are a British sweet candy, a bit like M&M's, so they're kind of chocolate covered. No, they're colour candy covered chocolate. Okay, and so they've been a big favourite in this country for many, many years. And so yeah, so no, it was the Carnegie. I get it wrong. It was the Carnegie Prize. So this is a prize given by librarians, and what happens is the librarians kind of choose books and think these are really, really good books that we'd like to kind of promote. And then they go to schools and say, do you want to kind of read these? And finally, it's kind of the schools and school children that really do the final choosing from a shortlist chosen by librarians. And that was it. Yes, no, it's all coming back to me. So anyway, there was a class in the school was chosen to be one of the what do they call it? Shadowing schools, and say they read the books and they did projects on it and everything, and they kept telling me how wonderful it was and how brilliant, and then I think they went up to London to the big celebration, I think, of the big prize giving, and J.K. Rowling won, and that was the first time people had really started to take notice of J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter. And as a part of a prize, the school had a school visit from J.K. Rowling, who, it turns out, in fact, grew up not very far from where I live. And in fact, when I'm going on a big shopping expedition to Bristol, then in fact I go past her old house, and it's become a family joke. Oh, did you know that's where J.K. Rowling was born? So I don't know. She wasn't born there. She just lived there, I think. And because she kind of lived quite close, in fact, there's a friend of mine who used to teach her English at school. all these stories started coming out, and so what happened? So I read Harry Potter. I got a copy, but luckily, some of the people, when she came on the school visit, some of the people at the school bought first edition hardbacks and got her to sign them because they were available at the time, and nobody knew that they were going to be worth a fortune. People often say, it's a first edition, I'll buy one of those, maybe it'll be worth something one day, and of course they never are. Well, not like you really expected, what happened to the first editions of the Harry Potters anyway. So some people were lucky. And so I read it and I thought, oh yeah, this is great fun. And I could see exactly what was going on there. I thought, this is magic. And she's kind of got that so well thought out, brilliantly thought out, the magic. And also the it was a boarding school story. That was the thing that really surprised me, because I was brought up on boarding school stories, and boarding school had kind of fallen out of fashion, really. So let me have a think about this a moment. So it was a boarding school story, and obviously there was this sort of deep hunger for this idea of sort of going away, going to boarding school, which the children loved. And then the whole thing just kind of really took off. It went a bit mad. I was, part of me was kind of feeling slightly strange about the whole thing as well, because just there was an editor of mine moved, and she wanted me to move with her to this other publisher, and I didn't like that publisher. And so I didn't work with her anymore, and she became the editor on Harry Potter. So I kind of I was in a kind of really bad mood with the publishers at the time. So I was kind of slightly not anti. I don't think I've ever been anti Harry Potter. I kind of always enjoyed it and kind of understood it. And my daughter was the perfect age, and she grew up with Harry Potter and just loved Harry Potter. And so the next thing I knew was that I got invited to be a judge on the Blue Peter judging panel. Now, Blue Peter is kind of was this was before the internet took over everything. Blue Peter was the kind of flagship children's program on TV, and it was kind of a magazine program, and they kind of ran this book, children's book prize. They still do, but I don't know if they still exist actually, Blue Peter. But you know, it was a national institution anyway. And so I was invited to be a judge, and it was a similar kind of thing that, you know, the adult judges would choose the books that they like, come up with a short list, and then a group of kids would then choose the final winners. And what happened? So in amongst I got these great boxes full of books I had to read. I took them with me on holiday, on vacation, and we went, you know, on a camping kind of holiday in France. These books and books and books, boxes full of books, and I started reading them all, and they all, oh Lord, another book, oh no. And when you read a lot of books very, very quickly, you know, the good ones kind of stand out. And one of the books was the second Harry Potter book. And the category that it had been entered into was the book I could not put down. Okay? So what happened? I started reading this thing. Oh, great, it's the next Harry Potter story. And then essentially the first 2 or 3 chapters are almost identical to the first book which I had read. And I could put the book down because I thought, this is really boring. And so I put it down. And then my daughter picked it up and she just loved it. And that was it. She was away. She became a Harry Potter fan. But as far as I was concerned, it was a book that I could quite happily put down because it seemed like it was just the same as the one before. So maybe I was wrong. So anyway, I didn't push it, and in fact, I don't think it actually got onto the shortlist in the end because I think everyone else felt the same. But it just became a whole different. It became a phenomenon of its own, and I think at the time there was a big. Well, there was, yeah, it was perfect timing because we had a new government who had this slogan, education, education, and they were reading first. It was all about reading, and Harry Potter just hit that wave absolutely perfectly, and kind of sold millions and millions of copies really on the back of that because it became the thing. Oh well, you know, if we want our kids to read, give them Harry Potter because that's all anybody knew about. Yeah. And there was just this kind of mania at the time, and since. So what do I feel about it all now? I haven't read all the books, but I'm just, you know, in total awe of what J.K. Rowling achieved. You know, it's just this perfectly designed and thought out world. And it's jolly good, and it's jolly good fun. It's jolly hockey sticks. It's just, it's an old-fashioned romp of an adventure, and it has a logic to it, which kind of works. And when you talk to true fans, you know, they completely understand the logic of it, and sort of, you know, they just get it. And so I think she's achieved something quite incredible. I don't think I'd have wanted to be her. I don't know. It's interesting because, you know, you start your career thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to be a famous author one day and everything, and I think she's managed it incredibly well, the fame. But I don't think I would have wanted that much attention myself. And, you know, it's all that tabloid stuff. That's when it goes a bit awry. I've kind of sort of had minor tabloid interest myself a couple of times, and it's kind of scary. It's kind of out of control, and you kind of think, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? And then and it's over in such a flash. It's as well. Tabloids move on, and so yeah, you can be worried about something, and it's just all over in a flash. Right, where am I now? I'm going to want something more kind of purpley under there. So, so what do I think? Yeah, no, I'm in total awe of what she's achieved in so many ways. And never met her. I've followed behind her many times, and I've been places that go, oh, we heard that J.K. Rowling here last week. Oh yeah, we had queues out the door, and there I am with an audience of 3. That makes me feel slightly small, but that's how it goes. Where am I now? So no, I've never actually met her, and I need to have a little think about this. So I'm going to want some kind of grey. Now I've got to do a bit of thinking here, so I need some grey coming up into there and up into the ears, and then we got a kind of so Minnie has a kind of a weird, I suppose it's almost like a Harry Potter flash, isn't it? That there, and then this is coming around there. I'm kind of in there, so I think I need to smooth that bit out there, and then maybe some little hints of fur. I think we need a bit of shadow in underneath there, like that. We need to build up this wand a bit more, like that. So what else can I tell you about Harry Potter? Yes, so yeah, it was very interesting. So a friend of mine was managing a bookshop in our little town, which sadly has gone the way of so many little bookshops. Thanks to Amazon and the internet, so much has changed. It's incredible. And I remember, at one time, then she would have these. She would have these kind of midnight parties where you would get your copy of first day of publication, and you could go and we'd count down, and so my daughter quite often went to those sort of midnight parties, get your first copy, and then she'd be awake all night reading them. And then her sort of friend would come, and and there'd be who could read their book first. And, oh dear, those are the days. But I also remember that in the end, it just wasn't worth her doing it, and so she would wait, because she was just making no money from it, and it was the book was, I can't remember quite how the costings worked, but it was the beginning of the end of publishing, really. And it was, she couldn't get the books cheap enough to offer them at a price that was worthwhile not buying them from Amazon or anything else like that. And I remember, in fact, one of the things on publication day, it was cheaper for her to go up the road to Tesco's, which is a big supermarket chain, and buy them there, because they were selling them as loss leaders for £5, and then she could sell them for £7 or something in the shop, because she just couldn't buy them from the publishers as cheap as Tesco's was selling them in the shops. And I think that's when the whole publishing business kind of went rotten. Yeah. I need to make a video about what happened to the publishing business. I keep meaning to do it, but haven't quite got around to it yet. So anyway, here we are. We need to get some shadow in like that. It's coming on, isn't it? It's coming along. I need some sort of darkness and shadow coming in there, and sort of a bit more under there, I think. I'm becoming reluctant to do much more now, so I'm thinking of having kind of green coming in that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, that's too dark I think, I'm going to sort of have this sort of dark brush strokes coming in like this, and so it's following the angles. This is a bit of a risk, this part, I think, whether it's going to work or not. I have an idea. We shall see. And I always get people asking about this brush. So this is a Pentel Aquash brush. The water is in the handle, and it kind of flows out of the handle. So it's a different way of painting from a kind of a normal watercolour brush. And I think, like most things, you just have to play with it. I thought it was rubbish when I first saw it. I thought it was just a thing for kids. And then when I had a go, I thought, ooh, actually, and this is brilliant for going out and sketching live and that kind of thing, because you don't have to take all this water with you and jam jars of water and things like that. So I'm thinking we need a little bit more in here, just a bit more. Take that up to there maybe a bit as well. And I'm thinking we're going to need a little bit of something under there. And that's going to need a little bit of something under there. Just to give a bit of shadow under the eyes like that. And I don't think I'm going to do much more to that now. I'm going to let this dry. Okay, I'm going to take a bit of a risk on this, and I'm going to be using Dr. Martin's Radiant Concentrated Watercolour on this. Am I? Actually, I'm... Yes. So, I don't believe it. I couldn't find my green paint, so I switched off for a moment, and I was positive I had this recording. I pressed re-record. So what have I been doing? I put the neutral tint, that's that grey, underneath there, underneath the whole thing, and then I kind of wet all around it so that the yellow would bleed into the wet. And then when the yellow is Dr. Martin's Daffodil Yellow, Radiant watercolours to give it that kind of radiant look. And then I've used Dr. Martin's Chartreuse Green to give that kind of sickly acid green magical explosion going on like that. And I'm wondering whether, in fact, I think I should take that all the way in. Actually, I'm going to use a different colour. I'm going to use cadmium yellow. So I'm going to clean up my palette here. I'm using my other watercolour set here, and the big brush. So I'm going to use this kind of cadmium yellow because I think the white is just too white now. So I'm going to bring that into there, which will then, because I think the face is getting lost with that kind of white background there, and then I can make the whole thing about the yellow and the green, and that way then the face is really going to stand out in the middle. And I think I could probably put some little streaks. The paint will help me kind of add some extra little streaks in here. And I think I always say that I think that's it, and then I always go and add a little bit more. I just feel I need a little more sort of darkness down here, as a kind of shade. And underneath and down the side there, so that we got that kind of shade from the top coat. Not to be confused with Top Cat. And I think we might, I'm not sure what, yeah, I think we might need just a bit more darkness around there. And maybe even into that green part there, which I will then just kind of fade up a bit like that. There. I think that is definitely it. Look, I'm putting the cap on my brush. Don't touch it anymore. So there you go. That is Minnie, the cat, dressed up as Minnie McGonagall, Professor Minnie McGonagall. If you enjoyed that, make sure you are subscribed to the Shoo Rayner drawing channel and keep coming back for lots more drawings all the time. I say every week. I keep trying to do stuff every week. I've been having a break recently. Make sure you're subscribed, and as I say, keep coming back. And in the meantime, keep drawing. Practice. And I'll see you next time. You take care now. Bye bye.